coming off another hard-fought hockey series. You guys take a break from Hockey East opponents briefly for a quick matchup at Madison Square Garden versus Cornell. Just want to get your thoughts. How's the team looking? The excitement level playing at one of the most famous arenas in the country. Just what are your thoughts heading into this Saturday?
We're really excited, Colin. I had Ty Amonte talk to the team because I think he's played in the game 3 times. So I kind of asked him his thoughts on it, and he said it's such an incredible experience. Like you said, it's one of the most iconic venues in the country, and for us to be able to go down there and play a team of Cornell's caliber in that game is just it's one of I think the special memories these kids will have.
All right, we'll open up for questions. Randy, you could lead us off.
Thanks. Good morning, Cav. How are you today?
Great, Randy.
Do you have any memories of Madison Square Garden, either as a fan or as a participant, even if it was a show, not even a sporting event?
Yeah. Well, I've maybe told a couple people, like I got introduced, I was born in Queens and lived there for the first 3 years of my life. And my dad was actually still in college. So I was living with my grandparents and my mom. And my grandfather was a big hockey fan. My dad wasn't. My dad never played hockey. He was a football, basketball, and baseball guy. And my grandfather on my mother's side was a huge Rangers fan. So the first team I ever rooted for was the Rangers. And then when I moved to Boston, I grew up in the times where the Bruins were so good. I became a Bruins fan as well. But I've always had an affection for the Rangers. I've gone down and seen many games there. I've seen Stanley Cup playoff games. I remember in college, my roommate in college was Brian Leach's roommate at Avon Old Farm. So my sophomore year in college, we went down and watched a Ranger game, and a lot of great experiences in that building. And I'm excited. I've never been behind the bench, and I'm looking forward to that Saturday night.
So with so much is made of this venue and will be made at Fenway Park, but they're hockey games for the record. How do you channel the excitement of the venue, of course, with the focus of the task at hand?
Well, if you want to play in the national tournament, you're going to be playing in a building like that. So you're going to have to be able to manage that. And we played in the Boston Garden last year, which is also a great venue and historic building. So our kids handled that pretty well. I think they'll be able to handle, that setting. It's just hockey players are hockey players. And when you drop the puck, a rink is a rink. And that's how you have to look at it, from that standpoint, and not get overwhelmed by the surroundings and just focus on our play.
And one hockey question, if I could finish up, it's the defensive play of your forwards. That first goal against UMass Lowell was, Percival having an active stick and a poke check that he ended up getting rewarded for. Can you just give us your assessment of the defensive play of your forwards at this point of the season?
Well, we strive to be a 200-foot player, whether you're a forward or a defenseman. If you look at the very best players in the NHL and the guys that win Stanley Cups, like a Jonathan Taves, a Sidney Crosby, Kopitar, Bergeron, those types of players, they play both ends of the sheet. And there's a reason why they're very successful. So it's something that we really impress upon our players. Where if you're a forward, you better play good defense. And if you're a defenseman, you got to jump up into the rush and create offense. So it's something that, we preach here every day.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. And
same to you, Randy.
All right, we'll head over to Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony.
Morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning, Anthony. I'm good, thanks.
Good. I know it's only been a handful of games for him, about half of the rest of the group. But what have you seen from Salmonen's game so far?
I think he's been really solid, Anthony. And it was almost unfair. We threw him into that first game with only 3 practices under his belt against a really good Boston College team. But with every game, he's getting more and more confidence. I thought today he might have had one of his very best practices today. So he's a big, strong kid. He's a guy that can play both ends of the sheet. He's doing some nice things on the power play for us. And, in time, I also see him being a penalty killer as well.
It took a couple of games, for him to get his first goal there. And, I'm sure some of that was kind of being behind, not only coming in as a freshman, but, obviously with the visa issues. And did you see, kind of since he got that goal at Providence, his confidence has kind of, spiked and taken off there?
I don't know. He's a pretty confident kid. He came in fairly confident. He's played on, I think, a big stage a lot throughout his career. He was at the Helenka tournament, and he's a candidate for the World Junior Tournament for Finland. So he's played on their national team quite a bit. I certainly think when he did score that goal, it took a weight off his shoulders, and it was a big one for us too. It got us back in that game at 6-5 against Providence. So, yeah, to answer your question, I don't think it hurt that he scored because. He's certainly getting better and better with each day.
Awesome. That's all I got. Happy Thanksgiving. Safe travels to New York.
Same to you.
All right, Bob, we'll head over to you.
Greetings from Portland, Michael.
Did you go to the ringside yet, Bob?
No, we didn't get in until late last night. So, and I was still on Eastern time, so I was in bed by like 8:30 Pacific time.
All right.
There's plenty of time for that. What's the lowdown on Cornell, Mike?
Well, it's funny. I was thinking today, actually, as I was working out, that my first job was a graduate assistant at Bowling Green, and we happened to travel down to the convention in Florida with the Western Michigan staff, and Mike Schaefer was on that staff. So we had traveled down and played golf along the way. He was one of the first guys I really met in college hockey, and I've got to know him, and over the past 30 years, really respect him as a coach. I think he's built an incredible program there. He's a proud alum, and they're always hard to play against. They have excellent special teams. They play a very physical style of hockey, but clean. They're not a dirt, they don't take a lot of penalties. They play the game the right way, and they're a tough, hard-nosed team to play against. So, we're going to have to be good in all three zones, Bob. Just can't say, we got to play good defense, because they'll eat you up, in the offensive zone. If you're not competing in all three zones, it's going to be very hard to win.
What have you seen in the development of Jake Flynn's game? He's a plus 12 for you and leads the team.
Yeah. Well, I think he and Tom Massinio have had a lot of synergy together playing on defense. I think they're doing a great job defending, and, they're playing against other teams' top forwards quite a bit. But he also, Bob, ignites the offense. He's a great skater, as we all know. And he's been jumping into the offense, and he's got at least 2 or 3 goals, I think, this year.
Right.
So,
right.
And he's leading, he's really grown as a leader too. So he's an integral part of our team.
All right. I'll give you the scouting report on the restaurant when we get out there. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
I don't need the scouting report. I'm telling you, it's a can't miss.
All right. Thanks.
Dan, we'll head over to you.
You've somehow got 4 games left in the first half including this one on Saturday. In those 4 games, what do you want to see your team improve on and try and get better on going into that winter break?
Certainly special teams, Dan, and it's a funny one. I think the metrics sometimes aren't always accurate. I think clearly our penalty kill has been pretty strong. And, with the exception of the power play, the first one we had in the second period against Lowell the other night, our power play has had a lot of in-zone time. We just haven't scored goals. Where I felt like at times last year our power play lost momentum for us, I don't think that has been the case. But, when the game ends, if you can be a +2 special teams, you got a great chance to win it. if you can be a +1, you got a good chance to win it. But I think we have the talent on this team to be a +1, +2 on special teams. And some of that's predicated on us not taking as many penalties as well. And I thought we cleaned that up a little bit on Saturday. But I want us to see more discipline, Dan. I want us to see us win special teams game and continue to get better in all three zones. You know, there's always room for improvement.
With the power play, how much can you look at the metrics both with would you rather have the power play maybe looking good and it's just not going in the back of the net knowing it's going to come around, or does it not matter how it gets in? And then kind of in the same vein, you've scored, it seems like a lot of goals this season, the second or two after the power play expires, that doesn't actually go in the book as a power play, but the guy's not back in the play yet. So do the metrics sometimes not matter all that much when it comes to the power play?
You know, over the course of a season, if a power play is 25%, it's 25% for a reason, because it's pretty good and they're generating a lot of chances. If you're 12% over the course of a season, 35 games, you weren't, whether you had the puck in the zone or not, you're not scoring goals. At the end of the day, you got to find a way to score goals. And yes, you brought up a good point. We have, I think, scored three or four goals this year where the power play just ended and their guy hasn't got back, and you don't get credit for that. Right now, I'm more focused on us being able to maintain possession in the zone and being in the right, have the right spacing. The area where we got to get better, Dan, is we're not getting enough pucks to the net. And I believe that's the primary reason why our power play hasn't scored more goals. It's been possession without penetration to the blue paint. And that's something that we've got to focus more on. And sometimes it's just an ugly wrist shot down to the net that creates chaos and havoc, and you get a rebound. And that's what we have to do more of.
How do you think mixing in the freshmen on both sides of the power or both sides of special teams, whether it's Tabor and I think Jake on the penalty kill, Sam coming in on the power play, how do you think they're working in?
Really well. Really well on both ends. Tristan Frazier's also jumped in a little bit on our penalty kill. And it's nice. It's nice when you can have a Torberg and Shandor and a Monty and Bradley and a Pearson, 5 guys that have a lot of college experience. And now you can work in some younger guys where they're not relied on to be, your top killers. And then all of a sudden, they give you a lot more depth. So if somebody gets a penalty that's a killer, you have a lot more depth killing penalties. And it's the same thing, on the power play, with, an Andrew Lucas and Hudson Shandor and Ryan Torberg and Justin Pearson, and then you mix in Matt Wood, you're not relying on 5 freshmen to carry a power play. So I think they've all worked in nicely and produced for us.
Anything else for Coach, guys?
Yeah, I got one more. Mike, you've been in such a routine here with, Friday, Saturday games. Now you're going to play Saturday, Tuesday, Friday. And I know it's one game at a time, but what are your thoughts on just, starting to get a little bit of out of your, I don't know if it's comfort zone, out of a rhythm, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I think sometimes the schedule comes as it goes. We had a week there we played Friday, Saturday, and then Thursday BC, and then not again till the following
right.
Friday and Saturday. So these kids are pretty resilient. And at this point in the season, Bob, I think we're prepared for anything. Our success or lack of success isn't going to be because we played Saturday, right, Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, or whatever the heck it is. It's going to be whether we executed and whether we competed for 60 minutes. In some ways, it's kind of nice, you're getting a little rest and you continually playing back-to-backs, which we have 7 and 4,
Yeah, true.
That can get
True.
tiring, but
Sure.
and I'm glad that I think it's tougher if you're doing it early October when you don't necessarily have all your systems in. Like we can play Saturday, come back Sunday, and not have to go over forecheck and defensive zone coverage because we've been doing it for 10 weeks now. So we can focus more on Merrimack on Monday and not, some things that they do.
There you go.
But that's Monday.
Right.
I haven't even got to Thanksgiving yet.
By the way, what's the big dish at your house?
Oh, we do a lot of the traditional dishes.
Yeah, do you cook it all?
Yeah. Yeah, quite a bit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dan, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, I got two quick ones. One, I know we're Wednesday and the game's Saturday, but health-wise, how you doing?
Very good. Very good.
And then one that's a little off the wall, but I saw it and I was curious of what you thought. Did you see what happened with Michigan this past weekend?
Oh, with them kids getting sick?
Well, yeah, they were short on players, but then they dressed, I think, their third string goalie as one of their left wings.
Yeah. Did they do that just so they could field a team to play, or I don't know.
I am not totally sure. I just kind of saw it quickly and thought it was wild. But I mean, I know you were kind of close to that situation last year. Can you imagine throwing a goalie out there trying to be a skater? And do you think a goalie would even have the type of skill to even hang in there with Division I players?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's something that I would do unless the kid had played, quite a bit, just because they're not used to it, and I'd hate to risk injury on a kid that wasn't used to. It's one thing if you're a defenseman and you move up to forward, or you're a forward and you move to defense. It's another thing when you're a goaltender and you're gonna go
Right.
dress now as a player. I think. Hopefully, I'm never faced with that situation, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's certainly unique. And again, fingers crossed that those days are behind us, where people are being ruled out of games.
No Johnny Evans at defenseman this year.
No, hopefully not. I'd take Johnny Evans, though.